lot of people think this is science, when in fact it's not. If you want to do research into asteroids and comets, you look at a sample. Well, we've got to find them all. The Earth is the only place that we know for sure harbours life. And if this is the only place that harbours life, then it should be protected. When I was growing up, I wanted to be a soldier. Back in the early 70s, the military was a stable career with reasonable prospects, good fun, loads of travel, all the rest of it. Seemed like a good idea at the time. Initially, I commanded a troop of air defence missiles, ended up as the senior instructor on Rapier and the high velocity missile system. In 1994, big lumps of comet hit Jupiter. Everybody saw it. Then it seemed a reasonable question to ask what would happen if it was going to happen here. And just out of casual interest, I started looking to find out. And the more I looked, the less I found, and clearly there was nothing. In the US, they picked it up and ran with it. In the UK, there seems to be a sort of stunned silence in the corridors of power when you mention a problem that isn't likely to happen before the next general election. At the end of the 90s, I was put behind a desk, as you are at that level. Life began to get really, really boring. I was looking for a way out. I started an organisation called Spaceguard UK. The military really began to get a bit antsy. It was quite clear that either I had to give up Spaceguard or the military. No-brainer. Literally, the day after I took my uniform off, we were up here with paintbrushes and stuff. In the early days, the biggest challenge was the fact that the big telescope that was here, and still is, isn't really suitable for what we wanted, so we had to build a new system. The actual observations we make are probably the most important thing we do. The big sky surveys will literally have a grid in the sky, and they will search square by square until they find something that moves, and it's flagged up as a priority for follow-up, and that's where we come in. It's a case of having all the systems switched up, ready for dark. There are a few initial things to get squared away, like the autofocus and so on. We have to leave quite a long gap between taking images of a specific patch of sky to be able to spot things that move. That data then goes on to the main asteroid database and updates all the orbits of the objects that we've observed, which is quite important because unlike other major natural disasters, this one is predictable with a high level of precision, and it's avoidable. It's just a case of we can't be bothered. If you don't believe that your species is worth saving, you might as well take yourself out the back with a 12 gauge and finish it now. The asteroid and comet impact hazard could potentially be the biggest catastrophe that the planet has faced in the last 100 million years. It's really rather reprehensible that at the moment only the United States is being left to sort it out. I find that unacceptable. Project DRAX is to install a 24-inch Schmidt camera on site. It's a survey instrument designed to look at a very wide patch of sky. Unfortunately, we obviously don't have any funding to do that, but we have a splendid crew of volunteers who are basically doing all of the work. Nobody's ever done this before, so it's quite a long, slow process. The solar system's a flat disk, so you look along the plane of that disk. Unfortunately, there are other objects outside of that disk, much trickier to find. But if your funding depends on finding stuff, you're not going to look at the patches of sky where you probably won't find something. Since our funding is non-existent, we can look at those patches of sky, and when the Schmidt camera is up and running, I fully intend to do just that. If you're lucky enough to come up with an issue that you feel strongly about and want to sort, then get on with it. No point in sitting back and whinging about it. You just have to roll your sleeves up and get on with it. If you have no such issue and you're fairly happy with things just grinding along, then I can't see a problem with that. But God, it must be boring. You have to find your passion in life. Doesn't matter what it pays, as long as it's enough to pay the bills, because you don't need anything else if you're enjoying what you're doing. Don't just sit back and let the world drift by. Not much of a philosophy, but it worked for me.